Our third lecture video on properties of matter will look in detail at properties of solids specifically. There are 7 properties of solids that we will take a look at. The first property of solids is cohesion. Cohesion is the force of attraction between like molecules or molecules that are the same. The cohesive forces in solids are what keeps the molecules of a solid so closely packed and also what keeps the shape and volume from changing. The second property of solids is adhesion. Adhesion is the force of attraction between unlike or different molecules. Some examples of adhesion are glue and wood, since they are unlike molecules and seemingly stick together, adhesive tape or band-aids, and skin, and oil on your hands. The third property of solids is tensile strength. Tensile strength is a measure of the solid's resistance to being pulled apart. This means it is really a measure of the cohesive forces between adjacent molecules. The tensile strength of a rod or wire is found by putting it into a machine that pulls the rod or wire until it breaks. To find the tensile strength of an object, you take the force required to break the rod and divide that by the cross-sectional area of the rod. Essentially, the tensile strength is a measure of the ratio of the force required to break the object to its area. The fourth property of solids is hardness. Hardness is a measure of the internal resistance of molecules to being forced further apart or closer together. Hardness is also defined as the difficulty in being scratched. In order to find the hardness of an object, a scratch test is done. In this picture, we can see that talc and gypsum are materials that are not hard, while diamond is the hardest known substance. The fifth property of solids is ductility. Ductility is the property of a solid, in particular a metal, that enables the metal to be drawn through a die to produce a wire. In this picture, we see the metal is being drawn through a draw plate or die, and it is narrower on the opposite side since it has been drawn into a wire. The sixth property of solids is malleability. Malleability is the property of solids, particularly metals again, that enables the metal to be hammered or rolled into a sheet. Malleability is similar to ductility because they both refer to metals and they both describe properties where the metal ends up thinner than originally. When referring to malleability, the cohesive forces or the forces between like molecules are so strong, the resulting shape is relatively stable, meaning once the metal is hammered or rolled into a sheet, it isn't going to go back to its original shape. The seventh and final property of solids is elasticity. Elasticity is a measure of a deformed object's ability to return to its original shape and size once outside forces are removed. The elastic limit is the point beyond which a deformed object cannot return to its original shape. When you think about elastic limit and elasticity, think rubber bands. When you apply force to a rubber band, it stretches the rubber band. When you let go, the rubber band goes back to its original shape. If, however, you stretch the rubber band too far, then it may become deformed or even break. This would be stretching the rubber band past its elastic limit. The bowstring on a bow is also quite elastic, and it is typically much more difficult to reach the bowstring's elastic limit than a rubber band. This concludes our discussion on the 7 properties of solids.